If someone had told me a year ago that I'd be sitting on the bathroom floor in a flamingo bathrobe, recording a confession on a voice recorder, I would have laughed in their face. But here I am. And if I'm going to tell this story, I'll do it honestly, without embellishment. Because otherwise, it'll just be another I slipped up story. And my life isn't about slipping up. It's about doing a backflip with a double twist and landing in a cake. My name is Sarah. I'm 34. I work at an advertising agency. I have a husband, Tom, and a cat named Stephen King. Tom is the perfect husband if you believe Instagram. Tall with dimples, can cook risotto, and iron shirts. But if you ask me what we have in common, I'd have to think. We're like two passengers in the same elevator, riding together, but each going to their own floor. It all started when Tom invited his best friend over, Jen. They'd been friends since college, and I'd always felt a twinge of jealousy, though I never admitted it to myself. Jen is a hurricane in a miniskirt. She laughs so hard the windows vibrate, and she can drink more whiskey in one evening than my father in his whole life. She was always one of the guys for Tom, and I got used to her popping up in our lives, like Manhattan traffic jams. That evening, Tom was late at work, and Jen came early. We sat in the kitchen drinking wine, and she suddenly asked, Sarah, have you ever thought you could be with a woman? I choked on my wine and coughed so hard Stephen King ran under the couch. What do you mean? I asked, wiping away tears. Just curious. You always seem so proper. I, for example, always knew I could fall in love with anyone. I laughed, but something inside me shifted. Maybe it was the wine, or maybe her gaze, direct, bold, like someone who isn't afraid to hear no. I don't know, I said. Probably not, but who knows? We laughed, talked about silly things, and suddenly she was closer than usual. I caught the scent of her perfume, something citrusy, fresh, like morning after rain. She looked at me, and I realized I couldn't look away. You're beautiful, Sarah, she said quietly. I don't remember who made the first move. Maybe it was her. Maybe me. Everything blurred together. Her hands, my hair, laughter turning into a kiss. It was like jumping into cold water. Scary, unexpected, but incredibly alive. When Tom came home, we were already sitting in the kitchen, pretending to discuss a TV show. I couldn't look him in the eye. That night, I lay awake for a long time, listening to him breathe beside me, thinking, what have I done? The next day, Jen texted me, that was the best night of my life. Don't be afraid of yourself. I didn't reply. I tried to act normal, but inside everything was upside down. I started noticing how I looked at women on the subway, how I reacted to touches. I was different, and it scared me. A week later, Tom suggested we spend the weekend with his parents in Boston. I agreed, hoping a change of scenery would help me forget. But on the train, I caught myself thinking about Jen. I remembered her laugh, her hands, her lips. I couldn't stop. In Boston, everything was as usual. Tom's mom baked pies. His dad told stories about his youth. But I was somewhere else. That evening, when everyone went to bed, Tom came up to me and asked, are you okay? You seem not here. I wanted to tell him the truth, but I couldn't. I just nodded and turned to the wall. When we got back to New York, I decided to meet Jen. We went to a bar, noisy and dark. She looked at me, and I felt myself falling into that whirlpool again. Do you regret it? She asked. I don't know, I answered honestly. I'm confused. Then don't think. Just live, she said, taking my hand. That evening, for the first time in a long time, I felt like myself. Not a wife, not an employee, not someone's daughter, but just a woman who can choose. But things got really strange a couple of days later. Tom came home earlier than usual and found me with Jen. We were sitting on the couch, holding hands and laughing. He froze in the doorway, then slowly sat down across from us and said, I understand everything. I was scared. I expected a scandal, shouting, tears. But he just looked at us and was silent. Tom, I'm sorry, I said. I didn't mean to. Stop, he interrupted. I've been wanting to tell you something. I'm not sure I know who I am either. I couldn't believe my ears. What do you mean? I've been seeing Mark for 6 months now. Mark. the neighbor upstairs who always brought us cookies at Christmas. I laughed. Jen laughed. Tom laughed. The three of us sat there, laughing like crazy. Well, Jen said, looks like we've reached a new level of honesty. That evening, we talked about everything: fears, desires, how hard it is to be yourself when everyone expects you to be someone else. We cried, laughed, hugged. It was the most honest conversation of my life. A month later, Tom and I decided to separate, not because we didn't love each other, but because we loved ourselves and wanted to be honest. He moved in with Mark, I moved in with Jen. We stayed friends, sometimes have dinner together, talk about new relationships, and laugh at how strange everything turned out. I don't know what will happen next. Maybe in a year, I'll be sitting in the bathroom recording a new confession. Or maybe I'll be happier than ever. But now I know for sure. Life isn't an elevator where you ride to your floor. It's an endless maze where something new waits around every corner. Sometimes it's love. Sometimes it's yourself. And if someone had told me a year ago that I'd cheat on my husband with his best friend and he'd cheat on me with our neighbor, I would have laughed. But now I know anything is possible in this life, even happiness.